Well, we have our toilet paper, our 2x4s, and our gasoline. So we're all prepared. Prepared for what? Why in the heck is all this happening now?
Live happy, fun-loving, and carefree.
So what in the heck is going on with people today? We're in a gas shortage crisis now, which isn't even real. 2x4s, prices are like through the roof. You can't find lumber, sheets of plywood, just crazy, crazy prices. We had the toilet paper shortage not too long ago. What is happening? What is the real reason that all this is going on? And some of you may remember, and you young people, you've got a handle on what's going on. So this is, us older folks are a little bit slow to the game, if you will. But the thing, we had a long time ago, we had a coffee crisis. We had a shortage of coffee. There was a peanut butter shortage, and lots of other things. So it's not like this is anything new. Humankind, we've been dealing with issues since we've been here. But what is really, really going on? What is happening that you should be thinking about? Well, what it boils down to is we humans are, on the one hand, we're very adaptable to change. That's why we are what we are in the world today, because we adapt so readily to life when it changes. But at the same time, we sort of don't like to change. We like things the way they are. We like the predictability. We've gotten caught up in the world where we just end up going through the motions. And it's that work, sleep, eat, pay bills, work, sleep, eat. And as much as we want to change, we really, in real life, we enjoy being in that predictable world. And we hesitate stepping outside in trying to improve or change things. So what does all that mean? Well, we've all been living in this hamster wheel of life, and we're in our hamster wheel, and we're going round and round in the wheel, and we just, deal with it. We accept it. And then because of this pandemic issue that, a year or so ago, a lot of people were kicked out of the hamster wheel. They didn't necessarily want to get out, but they were kicked out of the hamster wheel. And that, because of non-essential jobs. So people primarily in services were hit the hardest, and particularly like, say, restaurants, the fast food industry and that. People were booted out of their hamster wheel. And so they started staying home. And we can argue about things like there's jobs available, or people are lazy and don't want to work, and the government's paying too much unemployment, and things like that. And I just saw on the news this morning that the state of Tennessee has 255,000 jobs available today. And I think they said there were 49,000 people getting that extra federal government unemployment. And so Tennessee is going to cancel that here like in another month or so, whatever. But anyway, that's not the point. I just wanted to share that little bit of information to further explain that it's the fact that people were in the hamster wheel. They were living that life of just, going through what they do every day. And then they got booted out of the hamster wheel, and they're sitting on the sidelines at home watching other people, going to their jobs and that. And now today, things are opening back up. You don't have to wear masks anymore. People are getting vaccinated if they want to. And the CDC here in the United States has said that, things can start to go back to normal, and, you don't have to wear masks and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, how come everybody isn't going back to the way life was before? Well, you got to be insane to say, hey, I think I'll go climb back into that hamster wheel and start doing what I was a year ago. People are like, I don't think so. I don't care how much hourly wage you offer me. I don't care if you offer me a bonus. I'm not going back to that way of life that I had before, because it wasn't really making me happy. And our technology world that we live in has provided us with that. Just like, 200 years ago or so, when we had the Industrial Revolution and people moved from a rural agricultural life to an urban industrial life. And today, with our technology, because of the internet and people being able to work remotely, it used to be the only people that could live way out with the pond in their front yard in a rural environment, you had to be like an artist, an author, somebody that was, a little bit of an exotic personality. But today, because of the internet and because of all of the technology that is developing around the internet, people have said, hey, I can live at home. I can start an Etsy store. I can have an eBay store. Or, there's a bunch of other things. I can do things on my own remotely. I don't have to drive through my car to work and choke down fast food on my lunch break and have a boss yelling and screaming at me and telling me how worthless I am for $8.50 an hour and then just pay my bills. I can put a roof over my head and clothes on my back. I got these new shirts yesterday. Hanes 10-pack. That's why I'm wearing a white shirt today, because they're brand spanking new. And where was I going with that? Oh yeah, the roof over the head and the clothes on your back and food on the table. You can take care of your kids and things. And you don't have to go back to that rat race, hamster wheel, silly life. And oh my God, don't believe this. Epiphany. This is so bizarre. This just literally popped into my head while I'm sitting here talking. Is back in the 70s, early 80s, somewhere around that time frame, there was a movie called Baby Boom. And Baby Boom. I'm not too good with actors' names in that. Diane Keaton. She was the one in it. She was like this big executive woman in New York, and she inherits from a cousin or some long-lost relative. She inherits a baby, and she has like absolutely no idea what to do with this baby. And she's this like super tiger lady, mean business person in New York City, and she buys a place sight unseen up in Vermont and moves to Vermont. And oh my God, the Jeep Grand Wagoneer with the big V8 engine from the early 80s. That's like my dream vehicle. I would love to have one of those. But so anyway, and then she like goes back to New York, and they're going to offer her millions of dollars and use of the company jet and all these things. And she's like, I don't think so. And she goes back to Vermont because she was living in that rat race hamster wheel of that high profile, high stress, make a lot of money kind of life. And she moved up to Vermont and she got a taste of what rural life is. She had apple orchards on her Vermont property. And when she went back to the city, she's like, I don't think so. I'm out of here. I mean, you got to see that movie if you've never seen it, Baby Boom. And I think it was roughly the early 80s or so, Diane Keaton. But, and that's like a perfect parallel to what I'm talking about here with you today in our conversation, is people were living in that service life of going to work and whatever job you had, whether you're sitting in a cubicle or working on an assembly line or flipping burgers or fries or whatever. And then all of a sudden the government tells you you're non-essential and you're at home. And the first month or two, everybody's in a panic. What am I going to do? And then you realize, you find out that, hey, I don't have to do that crappy job anymore, that I can be home with my family and we can do other things. And technology is going to give me a method of, making enough money to pay the bills, put the roof over the head, put the shirt on your back and food on the table. And you don't have to put up with that crap anymore. And, you don't have to go out and eat 5, 6, 7 times a week, all the time. It's like, the fast food places, the restaurants were closed, and it's like, hey, making food at home isn't that big of a deal. I kind of like doing that at home. I like this this new lifestyle, and there's no way that you can pay me to get back into that. So that's the kinds of things that we should be thinking about, and it's, call it the paradigm shift or whatever you want. But my opinion is we're going to deal with all these shortages like gasoline and lumber, and unfortunately I think it's going to merge over into the food industry and that too, because there just aren't people available to do the jobs. There aren't truckers to truck anymore. Nobody wants to work in the restaurant and fast food industries. They're offering $1,000 bonuses and doubling the hourly wage, and people are like, I don't think so. So some of us are going to have to adapt to the fact that those kinds of things aren't going to be available. Unfortunately, we're going to deal with some inflation, and the last time that really happened was back in the 70s through about 80, 81 or so. And I think we're going to get a taste of that. But that's why it's about being self-sufficient, whether you live in a studio apartment in a big city or you're out in a very remote rural area, is being able to do things on your own and realize that if things get really expensive, we're just going to have to make decisions about what we can do or can't do. Watch another video, because my goal is to help you live happy, fun-loving, and carefree with your toilet paper, 2x4s, and container of gasoline.